Do you battle with the dilemma whether it's okay to collect bootleg physical media or not? Let's get into it. In today's physical media news topic video, we discuss the dirty topic of bootlegs. We get into a massive rant on maybe it's not as bad as everybody thinks. And then we also get into is collecting bootlegs the right decision for you? But first, if you love collecting physical media just like me and being a part of this amazing league of mega film fans, go ahead and mega smash that like and subscribe. That way you stay entertained and up to date on all the latest physical media topics. And leave in the comments below, do you think it's okay to collect some bootlegs? So let's dive into all the reasons why somebody might want to pick up a bootleg. Well, first obvious one is that the title just doesn't exist on physical media from a studio official release. There's movies out there that just haven't been sent out for the consumers to buy, and consumers are ready, willing to pay with their hard-earned money, and the disc just doesn't exist out there in official capacity. For example, Barbarian, we've talked about on the channel. We absolutely love Barbarian in theaters, and we still have not got no official release of it, the DVD, Blu-ray, 4K, or even an announcement that it's actually going to come out. And Barbarian did really solid with critics. It did great with the audience. Great box office numbers too for a horror movie. It did outstanding. So you think it would get an official physical media release, but it's owned by Disney. We know how Disney is with physical media. Sometimes they'll release a title, sometimes they won't, and sometimes they'll do it like 5 years later when people are like, what the heck? We already got the bootlegs like 4 years ago. So it just depends. Disney is a wild card in that aspect. So if they're going to release the title, who knows? And some people want to collect that title. Like I said, they might love the movie. They want it in their collection. They want to watch it multiple times. They don't want it disappear with history to never be found again, right? They want to preserve that movie loving history in some way, shape, or form. And they're willing, once again, to buy an official release by the studio, but there's just not one that exists. So is a bootleg better than nothing? Some people might approach it that way. Another reason is because there's out of print titles out there, and it's really tough to find those out of print titles. You usually got to go secondhand market for those. And do you want to pay like $1,000 for one DVD? No, not usually. So maybe somebody provided a bootleg out there. That's another dilemma collectors have to deal with. Do they want to pay exorbitant amounts for the official release on a secondhand market, or are they okay with a bootleg copy? Once again, that's just something that might go through their mind. Also, just the type of releases themselves. There's titles out there, if you could see by the thumbnail, Godzilla Minus One did get an official Japanese release that actually looked really cool. I love that looking limited edition set. I mean, that's awesome. But from what I heard, it doesn't have English subtitles on there. Well, how the heck are some people going to be able to follow the movie without English subtitles? So some people decided to get the bootleg copy so they could at least watch the movie and follow along with the story. Once again, they have an official release internationally, but is it easily viewable for everybody? Not really. If it doesn't have those English subtitles, that is a major problem. And maybe that official Japanese release should have included all those different subtitles, right? That's just another thought right there. So that's why another reason some people might pick up the bootleg copy or also a streaming original, right? People may want to see a streaming original that don't have access to certain streaming services in the area they live in, or they don't want to have a million streaming services and maybe they just want to see one movie off of there. Well, they're not going to sign up for that streaming service anyway to pay that much per month for a long time. Right? So, are they going to get the bootleg? That's another option as well. And sometimes streaming movies disappear. That happens more often than you would think. So, if the movie disappears, well, boom, well, what are you going to do now? It's just tougher to find some of these movies out there. So there's plenty of reasons why somebody might decide to collect a bootleg. And once again, we're not talking about buying bootlegs for everything out there, right? Most people, I'm sure, have 90% of their collection filled with very solid studio releases. Heck, I'll even say 99% collections out there. I'm sure most people buy the legit studio releases. But when there isn't a legit studio release option, what do? Do you let the movie pass you by, or do you pick up the bootleg option? This is just some reasons that people might end up doing that little nasty, dirty way, at least to see the movie. But now let's get into a massive rant on why maybe this isn't as bad as some people may think out there. Time for a massive rant. And now we're going to talk about why maybe picking up bootlegs isn't as bad as it seems. Because I know some people get really angry and frustrated when they see somebody pick up a bootleg. But let's go over the scenario again. Now, this person is willing to buy an official studio release with their hard earned money, but it just doesn't exist out there. They say, Disney, here's my money. Please give me Barbarian release. Disney says, no, 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 my friend, no barbarian for you forever. Well, what is that collector supposed to do then? That is the scenario we're talking about. So we're not talking about somebody where 100% of their titles are bootlegs. Obviously, that's much more sketchy. We want to support good studio releases, so studios produce more for us. But we're talking about that person where 99% of their collection are official studio releases, but they have a few handful of bootlegs in there because they weren't able to get the movie in any other viable way. That's the scenario there. So we got to keep that in mind. Of course, like I said, we want to support studios when we can with those official releases because we want their good quality work and other future releases. So now that we know the scenario, is it really as bad to pick up those bootlegs? Once again, you're willing to buy an official release, but it just doesn't exist right there. So that's really what we have to discuss here. And so maybe it's not as bad as some people think out there. Reason why is because when enough people bought the bootlegs back in the day for shows like Mandalorian and then the movie Prey, guess what happened later? Disney announced, ooh, now you're going to get official releases of Mandalorian and Prey. Do you think that was a coincidence when it got really into a hot topic where they're seeing tons of people pick up the bootlegs of those? And then they said, oh, hey, guess what? We're going to do cool official releases. We got steelbooks for you guys. We got slip covers. We got 4Ks. We got Blu-rays. I don't think that was a coincidence. I think Disney took notice. And do I think other studios take notice of other bootlegs? Maybe. And then they do eventually do official releases if they see a bootleg was popular enough. So it's kind of like testing the water for them in a way that is just one theory. I could be completely wrong on that. Total speculation there. But maybe those people that were picking up the bootlegs did really help out the collecting community in that way because what they did lead to us getting official releases of those awesome titles. And now I have a 4K slipcover official release of Prey and the Mandalorian steelbooks on 4K, and I love them. I thought they were really well done and just had a great time doing those. So that was awesome. But if we didn't have the bootlegs, those people collecting those out there, would we ever have gotten to those official releases? I just want you to consider that. Just think about that right there a little bit. So maybe it's not as bad as it seems picking up those bootlegs. Once again, we talk about Godzilla Minus One, where people want to view that movie. Maybe they don't have access to that streaming service. They don't have internet where they're at. They can't get it on Netflix or whatever. And they don't want to get the Japanese official release because it doesn't have English subtitles. So they still want to view the movie. Well, what else are they going to do? Right? There's that bootleg out there. Then, hey, maybe the studios will take notice over there and they'll say, hey, you know what? We got to do an official stateside release, right? And they'll release it to different regions and whatnot. And we'll get English subtitles and all the different other subtitles out there, whatever language you might speak. And they might do more releases of Godzilla Minus One because they don't want to leave money on the table. So maybe there's hope for a movie like Barbarian out there. People picked up Barbarian bootlegs and now maybe they'll do an official release out there. You just never know. It's just things we're talking about. Once again, it's all speculation and theories here, but that's why maybe it's not as bad as some people think out there. When somebody maybe picks up a bootleg or two, you think, oh my gosh, they're destroying the physical media collecting market. They can only buy official studio releases. If not, this is just going to destroy all our collecting and all this stuff. I don't feel like it's going to completely damage the collecting world if somebody has 1% of their movies out there in some bootleg version they were not able to pick up the studio release of. And I know a lot of people that have picked up those bootlegs actually did buy official studio releases when they did come out with those certain titles. So once again, they are willing to support those studio releases, but we got to get to those official studio releases to see that that happens, right? So once again, I think everything's connected here. I don't think it's as bad as some people may think. So I just like to have that perspective out there and kind of think about it. But let me talk to you about what I really do and what decision you should make out there, what's right for you. Let's get into that next. So diving into what you should do, what's your best decision out there? And I can't tell you that, right? Because that's all on you. You have to go with what your conscience says, what your moral compass leads you to, what you think feels right. 'Cause at the end of the day, if you don't feel right about it, it's not going to work for you. Go with whatever your heart says on this right here, okay? So I can't tell anybody to do anything or not anything. Once again, it's all individual. All I can say is what I do and share that if you care. And I don't personally pick up bootlegs myself. Once again, not because I'm like hardcore against it out there. You can never pick up bootlegs. You can only do official studio releases. Shame on all of you, right? No, not because of that. Just because I already am collecting so much. And if I can kind of, slim down my collection in a way by saying, oh, I'm not going to collect in that way, then it just works in my favor to save space on my shelves. That's really the only reason right there. And so I often think, okay, you know what? If it doesn't have an official release, I'm just not going to pick it up. Even if I do quite like the movie, because I still just hold on to the hope of maybe it will get an official release out there eventually. And then I'll use my money towards that because I don't like the double dip anyway. So I personally wouldn't want to spend money on a bootleg, then spend money on an official release and all that. That's just extra for me. Once again, takes up too much space and all of that. I don't want to have multiple copies of the same movie. And once again, this is all just personal preference. So that's why I don't personally get any bootlegs. But once again, we already shared thoughts on why some people do pick up bootlegs. Like I said, I'm not condoning it or saying, no, 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 never do that ever. Shame, shame. No, it's once again, whatever your decision needs to be, you got to live with it and go with what your heart says on it. That's all I can say at the end of the day. But once again, I do see all sides to this. I see all perspectives here. But once again, I do understand when somebody says, oh, you know what? I can't have access to Godzilla minus one because for some reason I live in an area where I can't get that streaming service through the internet or whatever. That's why I collect physical media in the first place. And I do want to get a copy of it, but I can't get the Japanese one because I just can't view the movie without the subtitles, right? It's going to be too tough to follow the story. I need English subtitles on there. I totally get where those people are coming from. So I'm not going to rant on them hard for picking up a bootleg of that. Like, I totally get your perspective on it. I understand that. So, like I said, I'm just in the middle with all of this once again. Like I said, I can only tell you what I do personally, and then you got to decide what you're going to do at the end of the day. But we're just all a friendly film fan community here. We're just all talking about movies that we love. And at the end of the day, we just want to be able to watch movies and discuss them and have a great time and preserve the history that is so important out there. So, you know what? Sometimes you got to preserve history in a certain way, and it's better than nothing. But then sometimes the better thing does come along, and then you're able to do it that way. So I once again just see all certain sides to this. But there we go. That is what I'm thinking right now. Once again, maybe my thoughts change on this a week later. Who knows? But now I got to hear from you guys out there in the comments below. What do you all think of bootlegs? Are they justified in any way? Or are you saying, no, 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 no one should ever pick them up ever for any single reason? I got to hear your thoughts and perspective. Give us your points in the comments below. Of course, if you haven't already, go ahead and mega smash that like and subscribe. That way you stay entertained and up to date on all future physical media topics and rants, of course. And once again, just have a great day watching and talking the movies. Of course, you'll love this physical media topic. Let's link another rant video right here you can click on. Maybe I rant on Walmart if you missed that one. And thank you so much, my mega membership supporters. If you love talking and collecting movies, consider joining the Mega League of Film Fans through memberships to support content creation while gaining access to perks like shoutouts, exclusive videos, and future topic choices.